Thank you so much for being here today and for being back for a second time, because you were with us for Do It Now, yes, in April. And I wanted you to come back and be a part of this discussion, because back then we were still pretty early in the COVID crisis, if you will. We're now a couple of months later. We may have been thinking back then that things would wrap up a lot sooner than they actually have. So now we have a different reality, perhaps a different mindset. And I thought it would be great for you to come back and talk about how you're dealing with all of this, because, you know, you had started some new ventures, some new processes and that, and I think that the audience is really going to be able to benefit from learning how your story continues to evolve. So why don't we start there? You know, you are also in the real estate business, but from an investor standpoint. And I have the benefit of knowing the story, but not all of our audience does. Talk to us about how you landed on this as something that you wanted to focus on, kind of the journey that led you here.
Absolutely. Tam, I was just thinking about this just last night, and it still gets me agitated just thinking about it. It just all happened. I just can imagine, if you can imagine yourself walking into a room and, you know, you're thinking you're having a one-on-one with your manager, and there's someone else there that you weren't expecting. So in your mind, you're thinking, oh, okay, I thought this was just a one-on-one or just a regular routine status update. Come to find out that I was being released from my job. I was being laid off. And in my mind, I was in shock. I was in awe. I was in total disbelief, because this is my very first job coming out of grad school. So in my mind, I thought I did everything right. I was the good girl. Got the good grades. I got 3 degrees, 2 masters, MBA. My major was, you know, fancy biomedical engineering. You know, y'all don't even know what that is.
I don't know what you do with that, but it sounds great.
You know, like, ooh, biomedical engineering, you know, computer engineering. Ooh, she must be smart. Oh, you know, all these things. And I kind of patted myself on the back for doing all those things, because that's what I was groomed to do. That's what my parents and my family and church members and all those people, what they wanted, what they said you should do to be successful. So I did all those things flawlessly. And then to find out I put all my all into a company that I relocated halfway across the country for, had no ties to the city at all, no family in the city. And now you're telling me that I'm laid off through no fault of my own, but just due to economic business reasons or whatever reasons you could come up with. And I was just completely devastated. And for me, it was just a total blow. And in my mind at that particular time, I was thinking, I will never put myself in this position again where someone has the ability to dictate whether or not I have a stream of income. Because that's the only income I had, was my job. I thought I did everything right. I had my savings. I did, you know, what I was supposed to do, what all the experts tell you to do, right? And despite all of that, I was being let go. And so, yes, I vowed to myself right then in that moment that no one ever would have that ability to do that. So that's why I started my journey in understanding about entrepreneurship and real estate investing. And I've been so blessed. It's been a process. It didn't happen overnight by any means. I mean, it's been a 10-year overnight story, but
right.
Myself where I am now, I don't have a boss. I'm my own boss. I don't have anyone dictating to me. I don't have to worry about end of year evaluations and VIPs and all that stuff. I get the VIP myself. How about that? And so,
mic drop.
And so that has been my whole heart in my journey, is just about having that financial freedom and teaching other people how to do the same. And it's all about having those additional streams of income. And even if you decide to keep your job, and that's fine, and I always recommend people, if you have your job, don't quit it just to start a new business or a new venture. Use it as the first investor to your business. But if you are going to have a job, make sure you have additional streams of income. And even if you don't have a job, still have additional streams of income. The average millionaire has about 7 different streams of income or more. So if something dries up, you're not stuck stranded like I was looking dazed all those years ago. And so that's just been my whole heart and my whole journey. And so as I went through that process, I found real estate investing. I fell in love with it because at the end of the day, everybody needs a roof over their head, right? We kind of grown. I know I've grown accustomed to having a roof over my head. I don't know about y'all, but I have.
Me too.
And I think a lot of people have as well. So therefore, people are always looking for a place to stay, even if it's not their long-term house. And there's a lot of different use cases on why people will need short-term rentals as well. So I just found that journey, and unlike other forms of real estate investing, I didn't want to do a fix and flip. I didn't want to have, for me as a project manager in my IT professional life, it just looked like another project I have to manage. You know, subcontractors, we on a deadline, we got a budget. I didn't want to have to do a second job. And, you know, I like nice things. I didn't want dusty and, you know, knocking down walls and hard hats and boots. No, I like the pretty stuff. So for me, that's why I chose short-term rentals, and I don't regret it by any means.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to get a little bit more into short-term rentals, because I would imagine that some of our audience has some experience or exposure to it, but some of them don't. So I definitely want you to help us break it down and make sure that they understand how this can work, because what you've highlighted for us is that there's many different ways that you can invest in real estate. And I think the fix and flip has gotten a lot of attention. You know, or even, hey, I'm going to buy a house, which Michelle Raw talked us through. I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to rent it out. But that's not the only way. You don't always have to be exploring those ways to invest in real estate. So you're going to have a unique perspective that our audience can benefit from. So I'm so glad that you're here. Now, one of the things that you also talked about, I love the way you said this, is let your employer be your first investor into your new business. So I know that you're passionate about the fact that we need to consider becoming our own boss. It could be full-time or part-time, but we need to consider becoming our own boss. From your perspective, why is that so important? And maybe why is it perhaps even more important now with today's environment?
Because it's so crucially important, because no one can fire you from your own company. Only you can fire you, right? That basically sums it up right there. But essentially, you have control over that revenue stream. You can control how much you market, how much you put yourself out there, how to attract as many customers as you want, or you can scale it down. You can control it and fit it into the lifestyle that you desire, because we all get to create our own lifestyle. And so the reason why it's so important to have it, especially even now, is you've probably even seen it, and unfortunately, probably some of your audience members may have even experienced that with COVID-19 came, a lot of jobs dried up. I know a good friend of mine got laid off in March, and she had worked for that company for 7 or 8 years. And she thought that, oh, I was doing everything right. I'm doing good on my evaluations. I feel like I'm a valued part of the team. I'm a team player. And yet she still got laid off. And so at the end of the day, if you don't have control over your income, whether it comes in or comes out, you're at risk. And so by having a business, and I don't care what the business is, it can be, you know, a lemonade stand for that matter. I mean, but really, as long as you have some additional stream of income, you want to have that side hustle on top of your job, so that you have that additional stream of income. So if your job goes away, that's not totally everything. And as you add to the side hustle, as you grow it, eventually it can get to a point where it actually can replace your income. And then once you're at that point and it covers your expenses, now you can cut the cord and you can say goodbye to that job if you so choose. And you don't have to, it's really to each his own. But if you decide to, that's the time to make that cord. Don't just go out flippantly or recklessly and just say you're gonna quit and don't have a plan. You definitely wanna have a plan in place, but do it in a methodical and strategic way.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So either way, whether it's a side hustle or it's full time, find a business. If it's not this one, find a business so that you have more control over your destiny. I agree 100%. This season, this year that we're in has definitely taken away that concept of guaranteed income. There is no, there is no guaranteed income. There is no guaranteed job or career because you can't control what's going to happen. Things happen with COVID that no one could have anticipated. But what's great about what you do, Crystal, is that even though the environment shifted, you were able to pivot, you were able to shift with it and find a way that you were still able to earn an income. So I definitely want to get into that in just a bit. But before we do, I think a lot of times people feel like, and you talked about all your degrees and all your experience and all that, they may be thinking, well, wait a minute, how hard is this? Give us some perspective. What types of skills does a person need to be successful in what you do?
There is no degree required, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. There are many successful folks out there with sixth grade education and many with high school and GEDs. So to have a degree or an advanced degree is by no means required. In the real estate, as long as you can count, you can do some basic arithmetic. You can calculate some important numbers that are important for you, and that you have a good team around you. That's the other thing too. Don't go in it by yourself. If you don't understand a contract, make sure you run it by an attorney. If you don't understand accounting and finance, make sure you have a good CPA or tax professional or accountant on your side. If you don't know how to keep your books, get a good bookkeeper. The thing is, you don't have to shoulder the burden of doing everything on your own. Mm-hmm. Get good people around you. They say that a lot of the C students are the ones that are successful in business because they hire the A and B students on their team. I used to be one of those A and B students on that team. Now I'm not gonna do that no more. You're not gonna get my services out. If I was in corporate and making six figures a year, that means you were paying me less than what I made you as a company. That's what that tells me. That means I made for you more than six figures in the company. So why don't I make more than six figures for myself rather than making it for you?
That's a powerful nugget right there, family. I want to make sure you didn't miss that. I want to make sure you didn't miss that. If you have a good job, and I know that many of you do, you have a good job, you earn, I don't know, 50, 60, maybe even over $100,000. If that company can afford to pay you that, that means they're getting more benefit from you than whatever they're paying you. Because trust and believe that they're not going to pay you that and go in the hole.
Sure not.
So they are getting enough out of what you're bringing to the table to cover your salary, whatever benefits are included, all of that. That means that the value that they get exceeds all of those numbers added up. So if you can command that in your full-time job, you can take those same skills and use them to either create an additional stream of income while you keep that job, or to maybe one day replace that income and earn even more. Yes, there's some work involved in that, and Crystal's going to walk us through that, but you also get more control because you can't, I love the way you said that, Crystal, you can't fire yourself. I mean, you can, but but you can work as long as you want to work. You are in the driver's seat rather than someone else being in the driver's seat for you. And that is so, so, so powerful. Before we talk about the details of short-term rentals, because you touched on something that I think is very real in this environment. There could be someone right now that's listening to us that has either lost their job or has fear of losing their job due to everything that's going on. And you had to go through that experience yourself. And thankfully, you've been able to pivot and move forward. What advice would you give based on your experience mentally and emotionally, kind of how to deal with being laid off and having to figure something out? How did you work through that?
Well, initially, once all the shock wore off of this has actually happened, I remember it took about a good day or two where I didn't have to log onto my computer and I didn't have to answer emails for it really to sink in, like, oh my gosh, like I don't have a job right now. And really, I made it okay for me to grieve that process. Because it was a grief. It was a death to me in a sense, as far as it was a death to everything that I previously knew. It was a total mind shift and paradigm shift. And so for me, it really took a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation, and it really took a lot of introspection as well for me to go and say, okay, Crystal, I get to create my own life. I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe that for myself and for every audience member and everyone out there on the planet. We get to create our own lives. And so therefore we get to take the reins, and I get to decide, okay, what do I want for my life? And then put a plan in place together to start moving forward. It won't be a perfect plan starting out the gate. It never is. And if you wait for it to be perfect, you'll never make any progress. We're looking for progress, not perfection. Start moving towards, start asking people, start getting access to resources, reach out to people who are doing what you want to do, ask them questions. How did they get there? Maybe even offer to do like an internship or something so that you can get inside scoops into how they're doing their business, and it's a mutually beneficial arrangement. But throughout that process, get crystal clear that the idea is about having clarity about what it is you want to do, and then start making action steps to move forward. One of the things we talked about last time was about deciding to take an action and actually taking an action. That thought process of, you know, you have 3 birds on a wire, one flies away, or one decides to fly away, how many are left? Well, the answer is still 3, because that third bird never flew away. So until you actually take action on what you decide to do, then you're just sitting there in wishful thinking. Just like we decide we want to lose weight, but we never take action and go take a walk. We never take action and change our habits. We never take action and do the things that we know requires to get it. Losing weight, we know to eat right, exercise, drink water, sleep. Everybody know that. This is not rocket science. But if we're not taking the action, or if we know that we're not accountable and we don't move out and say, hey, let me get a coach, let me get someone who can hold me accountable, that can move me through this process so that I can be more successful. Those are the action steps that are going to be required to make sure that you get to the goal that you say you want. Because at the end of the day, you set that goal, and no one's going to admonish you for not making it other than yourself, because then you'll be left with regret.
Wow. I so love that analogy of the bird. I so love that analogy, because so many times we decide and we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to get that done. I'm going to make that happen. But we don't actually take action on it, and nothing changes until we change.
Yep, someday is
Shirley
not a day of the week.
Someday is not a day of the week. Shirley says, progress, not perfection. She loves that statement. So you've already made an impact on our audience. Well, let's talk about this cash flow business. And let's talk about real estate overall. You had said to me that you believe that real estate is one of the best investments that a person can make to achieve cash flow. I would love for you to share with the audience kind of your thought process behind that belief. And then for the person that says, okay, Crystal, maybe I should explore this, what are the steps that they need to take to get started?
So yes, as I mentioned, we've all grown accustomed to having a roof over our heads. So yes, real estate is not going anywhere. And if you look at if you look at any millionaire's portfolio, real estate is undoubtedly part of that portfolio. It might not be 100%, but amongst everything they got, you can best believe real estate is part of that portfolio. And so success leaves clues. So go ahead and write your pen, take that down. Real estate is part of that portfolio. So therefore, but at the same time, understand that there's so many ways to get involved in real estate investing. I think, and you touched on a little bit about this, Coach Tam, as far as a lot of people, when they hear real estate investing, they think, oh, I gotta buy a house, or they think HGTV, fix and flip, and maybe foreclosures, and that's about it. There's so many ways. I mean, there's buy and hold rentals, there's tax liens and deeds, people who don't pay their taxes, and the municipality is looking for that income. So you can come in as an investor, pay that person's taxes, the municipality will pay you interest on that money. And in some states, depending on what jurisdiction, if they default on that, you now can own that property just for the taxes that you pay. Boom. Who know about that? There's loans, there's short-term rentals, which is obviously my favorite, which allows people to be able to provide short-term housing for people who need short-term needs. There are just a wide variety of real estate investing subsets, so to speak. And so my encouragement to your audience is to go and get educated about all the different ways that you can invest in real estate investing, because I'm sure you'll be surprised. It's not just your fix and flip and your buy and hold and wait to sell, or your traditional tenants. That's I think the three major categories most people think of, but there's over 50 different ways you can invest in real estate. And so as far as how do you figure out and go and learn about that? Again, get a mentor. I'm volunteering at Cashflow Conductor right here. But if you don't want me, obviously you got YouTube University, you can Google. There's a wide variety of books out there. There's a wide variety of mentors. So find a mentor that you like, that you can attach yourself with, that you can learn from, and that you can get your questions answered. Also, there's tons of books out there on the topic. There are, and some of my favorite books to get started, at least if you're an initial entrepreneur and investor, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki is a key resource. I think that's foundational for anyone who's interested in quitting their job or wanting to leave corporate in some form or fashion. You want to have any type of business or become an entrepreneur, I think that's kind of like the cornerstone of that. Another book also by Robert Kiyosaki that he wrote was the Cashflow Quadrant. And I love what he describes in that, where he basically talks about how, if you can imagine a quadrant, if you imagine old school, like the graph, you have 4 quadrants, one in each corner. On the left side of the quadrant, you have employees, the E's, those are people 9 to 5, W-2, you trading your time for dollars. On the bottom, you have the small business owner, those, your mom and pop grocery stores or your side hustles where you're the only one doing it. On both cases, you have linear income. What that means is you're trading time for dollars. Guess what? Newsflash, you only have 24 hours in a day, max. So that means there's a cap on the amount of hours you can work. Therefore, there's a cap on the amount of income that you can receive. Therefore, if you're only working on that side of the quadrant, there's a limit, and that's why you can never get financially free if you're only working on that side. And so therefore you have to work on the other side of the quadrant of B as a big business owner, meaning that you have systems and teams and leverage in place, or as an I, which stands for an investor. And that can be an investor in real estate, investor in stocks, investor in gold, securities, what have you. But until you operate on the B and the I side of the quadrant, you're never going to find financial.
Wow, powerful. So 2 books by Robert Kiyosaki that you want to check out. It sounds like they've been very profound for you and help you to get started in understanding what you need to do. And we'll make sure that we share with the audience how they can get connected with you as we move through our time. Now, you've talked about how there are many different ways to get started with this. And there could even be someone out there that's like, well, I heard your story, but I feel like I'm pretty good. I feel pretty secure in the job that I have. Maybe I have the 3 to 6 months saved up that is often recommended. And so I may not fully be on board with this idea of multiple streams of income. What would you say to that individual?
I love that question, Coach Tam, because I myself found myself in the same situation. And what I can say to that particular type of individual is there's no amount of money that you can't outspend. I'm gonna let that rest a little bit. And what I mean by that, if your job goes away and that's your only source of income, all you have to rely on is that 3 to 6 months that you saved up, or that 401k, or whatever that pool of money is. Unless you have additional streams of income coming in, at some point, that amount is going to be depleted. And so that's why cash flow is so important. Cash flow instead of cash. When they say cash is king, that's a lie. Cash flow is king. And so what that means is you have money steadily coming in, whether it's from multiple sources. Just like blood flow is the lifeline to your body, cash flow is the lifeline to your financial success. If you don't have flow coming in, you're stagnant. And so imagine, look at nature tells you everything. God is so wonderful. He gives us examples. Look at a pond that's sitting there that has no flow coming in. You see it's scummy and algae, and it just looks like is dying. You know, you wouldn't want to eat any fish that come out of there. But if you have a stream, a river that's active, that's flowing, it's healthy, it's vibrant, it's alive. That's the same way with your financial life as well. You have to have that flow coming in and not just rely on just a pool of money, hoping that that's going to save you. And I'm reminded of that parable, because I know we got a religious audience here, you know, we have as well, you know, that parable of the sower, you know, the one where you have the 3 servants, where the master gave the 5 talents, the 2 talents, and the 1 talent. And the 2 servants that had the 2 and the 5, they went off when the master went off and said, hey, I'm going to go away, but I'm going to come back at a future date, and I want an accounting of what you've done. Well, the 2 with the 2 and the 5, they went off, and when the master came back, they multiplied it, they doubled it. But the one who had just the 1 talent said he was scared, he buried it. Just like we get a bunch of money and we just save it away. And the master said, well, why did you at least get some interest? Did you do nothing? Because you imagine that the person that did 5 or the 2 talents and came back with 4 and 10, they had to do something to multiply that money. We don't know what they did, but they took some level of risk. They had to do something, put themselves out there to come back with that increase. Well, the other one was operating in that fear and that scarcity mindset, and they hid it. And so that story for me really just talks about that fear mindset. If we're operating that fear mindset and that scarcity and that lack, then we're never going to achieve, we're never going to move forward, we're never going to get that abundance that we claim that we want. We have to go out there and lean on faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. Lean on that faith. Lean on the unseen, but know and trust that everything is going to work out for your good, because everything always is working out for our good. Every single time. I truly believe that wholeheartedly. And if you believe that and you take action, because faith without works is dead, right? If you take action, then you'll start to see the fruits of your labor, and God will meet you where you are and produce the harvest.
Girl, you're going to take us to church. And we got the perfect audience here. We got the perfect audience here. So many things, right? Faith without works is dead. You've got to take action. You have to trust that how God leads you is the right way. He knows more than we know, and he's going to, even when things sometimes don't look the way that we anticipated and we don't feel like it's working out for our good, it ultimately works out for our good. And what we are accountable for, though, is making sure that we are doing the best we can to partner with God. It's not enough to just pray and say, God, fix it, or God, help me. I have to do my part in the process, and that's something that you so beautifully highlighted here. So let's dig deeper into this concept of short-term rentals, which you've shared with us is not maybe the one that gets the most attention these days, but has been really, really profitable for you. Tell us what is meant by short-term rentals. What does that mean?
So a short-term rental is really just any furnished apartment or property that you rent out to a customer or a guest for a designated period of time. Now, this designated period of time is going to be less than your traditional 12-month lease. And there are a variety of reasons why people would want a short-term rental. Just to name a few, maybe you have a corporate person who's on a work assignment that's in a particular area. They need a place to stay, but a hotel is just not going to be feasible. Maybe let's say they're going to be there for 3 months. You don't want to be in a hotel for 3 months. You want a kitchen. You want a place that feels homey. There's another, people who are traveling for life events. Obviously, that's kind of died down a little bit with COVID-19, but still, graduations, funerals, weddings, bridal showers. There are people who are coming in town for a variety of reasons, and even local people. So imagine this: you just closed on a house, but your new house isn't quite ready yet. So you need a place to stay until your new house is ready or until your new house is closed upon. Another example, or even your existing house, you have some type of fire, flood, some type of insurance type matter where you need to file a claim. And while your house is being repaired, you need a place to stay. So, and that's just 4 of hundreds of different use cases I can rattle off about why people need short-term rentals. And the beauty that I love about it is because you can command 2 to 4 times more income with the short-term rental than you can with the traditional long-term rental lease. And so the analogy that I like to use is that is like, let's say you get a case of water from Sam's or Costco or Walmart or somewhere. A case of water, maybe 35, 40 bottles or so is what, about $3-4, give or check plus.
Okay.
But if you now take each of those individual bottles and resell them out, let's say even for $1 a piece, assuming it was a a 32 case,
wow,
you made $32 off of a $3 case. It's the same thing we're doing with short-term rentals. Imagine the traditional 1-year lease, you're selling 365 days bulk. You say, oh, it's $1,000 a month, so that's a total of $12,000 a year, and you get to pay it off in 12 installments. That's what the long-term rental is. You're buying a case of water. But what we've done now is we've broken out that bottle of water. We've broken out on a nightly basis. Now you get 365 different days that you're able to sell and get a tremendous profit on. So the upsell of short-term rentals is just tremendous.
wow. So audience, I hope you heard that, right? So this is something, whether it's right now or in the future, that you want to consider, because Crystal just shared with us situations that many people find themselves in on a regular basis, maybe not even situations that they want to be in, but they find themselves in it and they need a solution. I know when I first moved to Charlotte, I spent the first month at the Residence Inn, and I'll tell you, that's not where I wanted to be. It's not the same being stuck in, even though it's nicer because it has more space, you get your kitchen, it just didn't feel like home. So I could totally get the perspective of sometimes people need something that's like home, even though it's not their final home, as a short-term gap. And with short-term rentals, you can meet that need. So let's talk about this a little bit. You talked about the books and the resources that you use to learn more about real estate overall. Talk to us about how you specifically got started, though, in the short-term rental space. How did that get started for you?
Yeah, so as I was doing my real estate investing journey, and I started analyzing and seeing all different types of ways that I can get involved with real estate investing, one of the things one of my mentors found with me was to find your investor ID or your investor IQ. And basically what that means is you have to do a little introspection to figure out what it is that you like to do. As I mentioned before, fix and flip, even though it's fancy and that they glorify it on HGTV, one, I knew I didn't want to get dirty. I didn't want to have to manage a team. It felt like a project, it just felt like a second job. And at the end of it, all I got was a lump sum of cash. We already talked about how if you get a lump sum of cash, you got to go out and get it again. It's not cash flow. It's just cash. And and that's why a lot of people got burnt out in 2007, 2008. They got the cash, but then they couldn't go out and they didn't have a place to put it that was generating cash flow. So once they spent through that cash, they were stuck. So having that constant revolving cash flow coming in is, again, so important. And so having that is just, from a cash flow perspective, I found mentors, I read books, and once I found the short-term rental, I basically just immersed myself in everything. I mean, I found everything I could find on YouTube. I found books, I found mentors, I invested in myself, I took courses. I did all types of things, just like you said, you go to school and you want to get a degree in something. I got a degree, figurative degree, in short-term rentals because I invested in myself. You can't harvest for something that you don't invest in first. So I invested myself, I learned, I put into action that things that I learned, because people say knowledge is power. No, applied knowledge is power. No, don't do that. Okay? So I applied the knowledge that I gained, and even though it wasn't perfect out the gate, I got momentum, I got action, I got some funds from it, I gained experience, and then I can reinvest that experience and go out again and get better and better and better every time I go out and do it.
Wow. So not knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is power, wisdom. And you made some mistakes. I love how you're transparent with, hey, it wasn't perfect when I got started, but I still made money. I learned from the experience. And I would say too, Crystal, what I would be willing to bet is that if you hadn't had the mentors that were alongside you in the process, you would have made more mistakes, right? So sometimes it takes more. Can we be honest? Sometimes it takes more than reading a book. It takes more than, reading a few articles and watching things on YouTube. When we really want to see transformation in our lives, whether it's from a health and fitness standpoint or investing or finances, a lot of times we have to team up with someone that can help us understand the ins and outs and cut down on the number of mistakes and cut down on the learning process. So powerful. And we'll talk about what that looks like if someone from the audience would like to partner with you. But let's talk a little bit more about this environment that we're in right now with COVID. You mentioned that, yes, some things have changed as a result because maybe not as much as a big family gatherings and all of these things that perhaps things would have been used for in the past. How have you been able to pivot and maybe shift your focus so that you're still able to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself?
Absolutely. Out of chaos comes opportunity. And we saw that in 2007, 2008, and we're seeing it now. And for those who are not operating that fear mindset and they look around and see, okay, what is the opportunity that I can glean from this, out of this chaos? Because people are looking for people who are calm and steady and to attach themselves to and say, hey, everybody else out here is panicking. Why are you calm? Let me see what's going on with that. And that's exactly what I had to do. It's like everybody else was panicking. There were other folks in the same industry that panicked and they shut down their doors. The thing is, yes, I lost, lots of money, probably tens of thousands of dollars in reservations initially through the COVID-19 because people like the life events folks were canceling. Yes, people weren't traveling for vacations and weddings and funerals and graduations like they were before COVID. And so now how I had to pivot was more of a long, I should call it like a midterm stay. So it's still not the traditional 12 month, but looking for people who are staying 30 days or longer. So a lot of use cases, again, you still got the insurance folks that, their house may take months for them, for their house to be repaired. Even still some corporate work assignments, even medical professionals. Imagine this, you're a nurse or a doctor, you're working on the front lines of COVID-19, and you don't want to go home for risk of possibly infecting your family, but you need a place to stay. Maybe someplace even near that hospital or that medical facility. So having a place where you can be there or be in quarantine allows you to know that you have a safe, warm, inviting place for you to lay your head, and at the same time, your family is safe because you're not posing a risk to them. I mean, there's just a lot of different use cases on why people need kind of that midterm stay for short-term rentals. And so that's where I pivoted and I focused more on those type of folks rather than maybe more the people who are leaning more toward the shorter term stay, maybe a week or a couple of days and that type of thing.
Yeah, that's perfect. So one of the things, family, that you will find out as you step out there and add those multiple streams of income, that creativity is required. So things change. And we have to be willing to change with it and find ways to continue to make it work. This was a amazing time. Now we've got some questions from Shirley says, so is that short-term leasing and Airbnb? Now that is a perfect question because often I think that is the association, maybe that's the most popular form of short-term rental that our audience might be familiar with. Talk to us about how Airbnb fits into the short-term rental business.
Absolutely. So the short-term rental business itself is literally just what I described previously. It's providing housing on a short-term basis to people who need it. And so regardless of what platform you use, and you can even have your own platform, you can create your own brand. It's not dependent upon a platform. However, there are multiple platforms out there, including Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway, Expedia, TripAdvisor, Booking.com. I can list 50 of them right off here. There are many platforms that you can go to market your business because those companies have spent millions of dollars to attract customers to you. But the thing is, they are just a platform. They are not the business itself. And that's why a lot of people, when COVID-19 hit, a lot of people thought that they were just doing short-term rental Airbnb and they had a listing. And when COVID hit, they had to close their doors and go home because they didn't understand they had a full business. and they had certain target customers that they were focusing on. And if so, if they were just plopping a listing out there, hoping and wishing somebody made a reservation, and when all those reservations dried up, they took their ball and went home. But if you're clear on who your target customer is, then I know, okay, initially I was focusing on the life events folks. Now I can pivot on people who are focusing on in insurance or corporate or, you know, what have you, medical professionals. Then I'm not all willy-nilly to the fray. And what ended up happening was a lot of people left out. So a lot of my competition left. Another clue, success leads clue, stay the course. Because now a lot of my competition come back, and right now, as COVID started to lift a little bit, I know in North Carolina specifically, we're still kind of in this phase, but people are starting to pick up. It's summertime, people are tired of the quarantine, and they don't want to go to hotels. They still want to go somewhere new and different, but they want to just be around their immediate family. Guess what? Short-term rentals. I'm getting this reservation. I just got one just while we're talking, $500. I'm over here talking with you. That's what I'm talking about.
That's the power.
Not non-linear money. I'm not working from that. I'm not going out there trying to ask people, hey, come stay with my place at this exact moment in time. I'm utilizing tools and systems, that big B in that quadrant, to work on my behalf, so that now I'm not having to work for my money. My money is working for me.
I love it. I love it. Not working for my money, but my money is working for me. Shirley says, great information. Thank you. So yes, wanted to make sure our audience was clear on that. Airbnb is just a platform. Now, those of you, I know that I have some of my folks on here who went through our Write the Vision experience and our 5-day author workshop. So I'm going to come back to a same concept that I came there. If you write a book, the book is the product, but you are still an entrepreneur. And what the people that Crystal talked about just now, they didn't realize that they were entrepreneurs. They thought they were just putting stuff on Airbnb. Exactly. But when you accept and you embrace the concept of entrepreneur, you don't, when things change, you don't take your ball and go home. You figure out, okay, how can I pivot? This is what worked. It's not going to work in this environment. What is a market that needs what I have to offer? So what Crystal was talking about is a skill that we all need to have, and it's going to be critical no matter what business, because, you know, Crystal talks about, hey, this is what I do, but if you don't do this, find something. That is a skill that you need regardless of what business you find yourself in. Don't get caught up in the product. Don't get caught up in the platform. You got to develop as an entrepreneur and make sure that you have the foundation and you have the skill set so that no matter what happens out there, you're still able to make it work. That's the way that you truly have the ability to have financial income, is that you can create a check. Not that you're waiting for somebody to give you a check, but you can create a check. And there's a certain level of skill set and talent that you need to have to do that, right? So whether you're working with me on getting your book out there and creating the business that goes around it, or you're looking at cash flow with short-term rentals, no matter what business it is that you want to do, don't get caught up in, because also what I heard is it was easy money for a minute. I just put my stuff on Airbnb, advertised it. I relied on Airbnb's advertising power and their marketing budget, and I got rentals. Okay, but entrepreneurs know that you can't always depend on one form of traffic or source, right? You have to be creative and you have to be able to create traffic for your offers, right? So Crystal has figured that out, and she got money while she was sitting here talking to me. How powerful is that? $500 is going to be coming her way while she's sitting here talking to me. And listen, she's not the only person that can do that. You can do that too. Now, before we talk about, we're gonna wrap things up in a pretty bow and help the audience if they want to take that next step. But we talked about something earlier this week about taxes. So you shared with me that you believe that if an individual does not have a business, doesn't matter whether it's short-term rentals or whatever, just doesn't have a business, that they are overpaying in taxes. They are paying more taxes than they have to. Talk to us about that. Why do you believe that if you don't have a business, you're overpaying in taxes?
That is so true, Coach Tam. That's why I said, get you some business. I don't care, and I mean that like I say it too, like literally, get you some business, because I don't care if it's a lemonade stand, a short-term rental, you're selling masks, whatever you're doing right now, you need to be selling something. And so have a business, because what happens is the United States tax code favors business owners. You hear it all the time in the political cycles and whatnot, regardless of whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, or whatever. Always about business owners and taxes. You hear about Warren Buffett talking about how he pays less taxes than his secretary. The reason why he can say that is because his secretary is a W-2 employee and does not have a business. Warren Buffett clearly got some business, right? Multiple businesses. And so there's many different, there's so many rules in the tax code book, and there's no way to know it all. And again, get your tax professional or, certified person who can talk you through that. But there's so many deductions that are available to you as a business owner that are not available to you as a W-2 employee. A prime example, a few years ago, this is before the 2018 tax change with President Trump, but still, it's still relevant in some cases where I was at my job, I still had my W-2 at that time, but I also had a side business. Because I had a number of deductions through my business, I was able to get $17,000 back on my taxes. I didn't have any kids or dependents. I didn't own a house at that time in my name. And I was making six figures a year, so I was in a high tax bracket. And yet I still got a lot of money back in taxes because of the deductions I was able to make as a business owner. Think about all the mileage that you do for your business. If you're going to pick up supplies, if you're talking to a business customer or whatever, sometimes even meals can be partially deductible. If I'm having a meal with you, Tam, and we're discussing business about this event right now, guess what? Right off. Thank you, Uncle Sam. There's so many different things, and especially if you have kids. One thing that blew my mind, I was like, I can't wait for my turn to have kids. Lord Jesus, help me on this one. It's probably bad for me to say that just to get some deductions, but there was one of my mentors in the course that I took. It just blew my mind, and people have been doing this for years, and unfortunately in our community, we just didn't know. For example, let's say you have a child, and they're maybe 12 years old or a teenager or whatnot, and you have a business. Well, guess what? You can hire that child as an employee of your business. So as an employee of your business, you get to pay them a salary. Let's say you pay them $10,000 a year, whatever that equates to, whatever. And maybe they're a teenager, maybe they're doing stuff on your website. If they're smaller, maybe they handed out pamphlets to people, or, you can find the age appropriate task for them to do. And you have to have a task. You can't just say that they're an employee and they're sitting on their butt, but you have to be legit with it and be integrity about it. But absolutely, if you have a child as an employee, you pay them a salary. Guess what? That salary you pay that child is tax deductible to your business. And that means for you as a person, when you file your taxes, your AGI is your adjusted gross income is going to go down, meaning your tax bracket is going to go down, meaning you're going to pay less taxes. But on top of that, now this child who has this W-2 job through your company, your LLC or your entity, now, whenever you open a bank account, whenever little Johnny wants school shoes, guess what? They paying it out of that money. And guess what? It's tax deductible to you, but also because they file taxes, and I think right now it's $18,000 is your standard deduction before you have to take any additional deduction. You can pay them up to $18,000 and they don't have to pay any taxes on. So it's tax-free, Johnny, tax deductible to you. And every time, and what are things you taking out? Oh, Johnny got to reimburse you because you pay rent for Johnny, you pay school for Johnny, you play basketball and soccer for Johnny. Johnny can reimburse you for all that money, and it comes back to you as an individual because he owes you as the parent for his portion of the rent or the mortgage or whatever. People have been doing this for ages. It is absolutely legal. If you don't know the rules, you cannot win the game. People out here playing checkers and business owners have been playing chess for years. I'm trying to let y'all know you don't know what you don't know.
So much out there.
I encourage you to get around people that have the highest good for you, that are where you want to go. Attach yourself to them, because you are the average of the 5 closest people around you. The 5 closest people around you are broke, and they complain about their W-2 job, and they tired and they getting headaches and gout because they stressed out over they micromanaging manager. Well, you don't want to be around them because best believe you're gonna be that fifth person just like them.
Wow.
Powerful other people who are going where you want to go.
Wow, so many things there, but thank you, Crystal, for breaking that down, family. So I don't know if you caught it all, but bottom line, if you don't have a business, you're missing the ability to take deductions that you can only take as a business owner, right? And so that's why, a lot of times, and we're hearing about it more in the political space, but a lot of times you're hearing about business owners and how their net worth has increased and all these different things that are working on their behalf. That is because they know some things about the tax code and what it allows them to do. And they have, kind of to the point you made earlier, they got a team working on their behalf. So trust, they don't know everything, but they have people that know things, right? And those people are positioning them to be able to take advantage of things that a person that does not have a business cannot take advantage of, right? So don't miss out on this opportunity. So we've got a few comments here. Oh, they're getting some kind of, they said, this is powerful, my God. So good thing. So what if you start your kid a business? Can you do the same tax break? So let's say that the child themselves is going to start a business. The question is, can they take advantage of the same tax breaks?
So before I answer that question, I'm gonna put a little disclaimer out there because I ain't gonna be suing me.
Yeah, go for it.
That's
I know that's right, girl.
Right. I'm not a tax professional. I don't even play one on TV. This is not tax advice. Contact your appropriate tax and legal profession. That being said, if little Johnny has a business, then yes, they will get the same benefits and deductions as you would if you have a business. So there's no age limit on having a business or anything like that. If they make a certain amount of money over the standard deduction, they're going to have to file taxes. So it doesn't matter how old little Johnny is. If he makes 6 figures selling lemonade, Uncle Sam want a piece of that. Trust and believe that. So, he'll have his standard deduction, but then anything over and above that standard deduction, unless he has other deductions to deduct, the cost of the lemons, the cost of the water, the sugar, the marketing, the internet, maybe the Facebook ads he ran out, I don't know, whatever the little Johnny did, for that business, that's all those costs add up, and you can deduct that from the final amount. Because as the tax code, what happens is, as a W-2 employee, let's say you make $100,000 a year. Well, before you don't actually get $100,000 a year, Uncle Sam, before you get anything, they take their taxes out, and you get to handle whatever's left. As a business owner, if you make $100,000 with your business, you get to spend it how you see fit. And every deduction you make, every cost you spend for that, and then whatever's left over after you pay for all your expenses, let's say it's $40,000 because you have $60,000 for expenses. Now you're taxed on the 40 and not the 100 like you were as a W-2 employee. And so that's why it's so important to get you some business and make sure that you position yourself, because if you don't have a business, even if you have a job, have something on the side that you can take advantage of some of those tax deductions.
Don't be caught. Crystal is giving us some education. Even if you don't remember all of it, the bottom line is that you are overpaying if you do not have a business. So Bernadette says, so good. Javetta says, thanks for all of this information it's informative information on short-term leases. She has been blessed by it. Angela says, to start, you need a business number or EIN number. So I think we're talking about the federal tax ID number. Is that one of the steps that you took to get started with business?
It is one of the steps I took. And again, talk to your appropriate professional, tax or legal professional. Now, one thing, there's multiple ways you can do it. As a sole proprietor, it will be attached to your social security number. And if you decide to set up a separate entity, an EIN or LLC, S Corp, C Corp, partnership, any type of legal entity, that type of thing, you're certainly going to have some kind of EIN or business ID so that the IRS can identify you as compared to your actual business. So yeah, you definitely want to talk to your appropriate professional to figure out for your, because everybody's case is going to be different. For your particular and unique case, what makes the best sense for you.
Absolutely. So we are not tax advisors here. We can speak from what our own individual experiences have been, but make sure that you have a team. I have a team of people. Crystal has a team of people that she works with. So one of the responsibilities as a business owner is to make sure that you have the right team around you. Well, Crystal, so many great nuggets. No way. We always run out of time. It's like, wow, time flies when you're having fun. So I want to talk to the audience about how they can take their next step. So let's say we have someone who's been hearing all of this. They're thinking about exploring at least the short-term rental business. What would be a good next step for them?
Absolutely. If you're interested in learning more about short-term rentals or really just additional streams of income, because short-term rentals is not my only source of income. Clue, like I said, I have multiple streams of income, online businesses and, you know, other things, staffing companies and other things that I have that I do. But at the same time, if you're interested in short-term rentals, I am actually in the process of launching a course. I have a course that's already in play. We have students that are already learning and about how to get involved with short-term rentals. Or if you're interested in just learning more about what I'm doing and tips from me and just want to have someone as a mentor, come follow me on Facebook or Instagram at the Cashflow Conductor, at the Cashflow Conductor. And then also you can go to www.thecashflowconductor.com to register for my next upcoming event on short-term rentals. It's going to be held on July 11th at 1 p.m., which is a Saturday. You can register for your seat there. And as a bonus for you being part of Coach Tam's event, you are going to actually have free registration for that for a limited time, because it's going to expire on July 4th. You want to act fast, because at that point, the prices will go up for that particular event. So if you go to www.thecashflowconductor.com, you can go, you can register. You can also join our newsletter at the bottom of that page there so that you can learn and get other tips from me and join the cash flow community.
All right, family. Well, awesome. Listen, you've heard all of the nuggets that Crystal has shared today, so you know that she is knowledgeable in her field, whether it is short-term rentals or other ways that she generates income. So I want you to check out her website. You've got it in the comments as well. You've got the link to her cash flow course where you can sign up and learn more through this webinar, and so that you can follow her on social media. Well, Crystal, let's try to put everything that we've talked about today, try to wrap it up and put a bow on it. How would you sum up? What are the main things that we need to take away as an audience from what you shared today?
I would just say, first things foremost, again, I harp on this all the time, never have one source of income. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. Our elders were very wise in this. And that's so true. Whether you have a job, even if you have a business, have multiple businesses, because inevitably something's going to happen. We can't predict the future, but if something dries up, you're not beholden to that as your only source of income. You want to diversify your risk. So that's number one. Number two, get you some business. As I mentioned, if you don't have any business, you are overpaying in taxes. And so that's just a good tip right there on how you can save on taxes by having a business. It's not just your basic home business deduction. You can get that as a W-2, but I also warn you that a lot of times the IRS, they look at that because they know people try to maximize that. And so if you ever get audited, that's one of the first things they're looking for. So, but as a business owner, you can legitimately take some other deductions outside of just the home-based business thing. So that's number two. Number three, yes, use your current job as your first investor. I know there's a lot of dreams that are burning a lot of people. They're saying, yes, I always wanted to do X, Y, and Z, but I have this job, I have to pay the bills. That is fine. We want you to pay your bills, right? So continue paying your bills for you and little Johnny. But what we want is to make sure that as you have your side hustle, that side business, whatever it is, whether it's short-term rentals or not, make sure that you use that job as a foundation so that you can build it. And anything you have over use that to start investing. If you're buying a lemonade stand, start using that to get your lemons and your sugar. If you're getting short-term rentals, use that to start investing in courses or mentors or that type of thing. Get some books. Use it as your first investor for your business, and you'll be amazed at how you can grow so much without having to have that added pressure. Because when you quit your job, not only are you working off of just a limited reserve, but now you have that added mental and emotional stress and pressure. I got to get this done. I got to get done. And that's negative energy, and that's going to prevent you from moving where you need to go. So 3, 4, of course, real estate investing. Everybody needs a roof over their head. I said that's not going to go away. The average millionaire always has real estate as part of their portfolio. And then certainly you always want to multiply your money with leverage and systems. That's what you're on that right side of that quadrant, be in a B and an I. Let your money work for you instead of you working for your money.
Wow. Family, tell me, has your time with Crystal been a blessing? Shout it out in the comments. Charlene says, awesome. And we got the claps, we got the hands. She has been blessed by what you have shared today. And I know that there are more. Chanel has praised hands. So you're getting all kinds of love. So thank you for coming back and going even deeper into the topic, helping people understand, although the industry has changed some, if you have the right mindset and skill set, you can still be successful. And for giving this audience, family, aren't you excited about an opportunity to learn more about this at no charge just because you were here? So there's power in connections and partnerships. So I want you to go on over. Excellent info. Yes, blessed on today. Awesome, fantastic. Thank you. Absolutely. So make sure that you go on over to Crystal's website, check out the information that she has so that you can learn about how to take that next step, whether it's right now or down the road. Listen, I think Crystal and I both can say that we both researched and tried to understand. We talked about books, and we talk about books and stuff all the time. We're both personal development junkies.
Yes, that's so important.
So sometimes it's so important that you're getting that foundation, you're learning. So if nothing else, even if you're not ready to take the step right now, I want you to take advantage of the opportunity to learn more, to get more informed, so that when you are ready, you have the information that you need to take that next step. So Crystal, thank you so much for being here with us today and for always sharing being so free with your knowledge and your information. I pray that you have a great rest of your day.